What are you drinking today?
I can't drink today. I've got parental obligations to do. So
Come on.
I've
You're,
got to
you
be driving around town here. I
you
can't be
can't
picking
keep
people.
any of your commitments.
I gotta pick people up. I
Can't
don't you know
keep
I
any of your
don't sit around
commitments.
in my underwear all day. You know.
That again with the underwear all day. Like I don't sit around in my underwear all day either. I don't know what the analogy has to do with anything.
I'm pretty sure you do.
Well, come on over. I'll show you.
No, I'm good. I have to. I've got some driving obligations here in a little bit later today, so I can't be drinking and driving. What a
Oh,
bad example that would set.
I can't win. I thought I was getting ahead of the game with you finally doing a podcast before midnight, and
But hey, I'm on the phone. I'm
yeah.
here.
Yo, wow,
I'm
that's
ready to go.
well, deliver it up then, my friend. Fire us off while I drink these and try and get through this.
I think we should talk some wrestling because I've been searching the Twitter board here this afternoon, and man,
No one wants to
I
hear
feel
our
like there's a
thoughts on current events.
what
No one wants to hear our thoughts on current events.
I want to know. Look, we haven't talked wrestling in a minute.
Well,
We talked like about bullshit,
we tell wrestling stories. We don't talk about
right?
we're
Well,
not
there's
we're not
there's
news
two things.
analysts. We're not news
No, no,
analysts.
no. There's
That
just two
doesn't
things I
work.
want to talk about. There's
Nobody
just two
wants to
things I want to talk about.
hear about the current fucking status of wrestling and our thoughts on it.
I just want to talk about two things.
I can't wait to hear what they are.
I want to talk about what everybody thinks who watches wrestling, you especially, the Sasha and Naomi thing. Is it a work?
No,
Is
it's
it
not a
fake?
work. Shut up
Or
with
is it
your is it a
real?
work shit.
What do you think?
They don't do
I don't
work.
get why are they
WWE
talking
doesn't do
about it so
work
much.
shoots like that. They don't. They
Why are
don't.
they talking about it?
Huh?
Why are they talking about it so much
Because
on
they're
air?
fucking pissed and they're burying them. They're fucking done with this horse shit. They're fucking putting their foot on their throats. They're saying you can't. You're a hired actor on a TV show. You follow the script. When you don't do it and you take your ball and go home, we're going to bury you. We're going to ruin your name. We're going to make it harder for you to get over and make money somewhere else because you forced your exit with us. Screw
But
you.
do you truly believe that you truly believe that Sasha Banks couldn't go to AEW and be a name? Like they're not burying her.
they're
It doesn't
they're
work like that.
they're making it harder. They're at least making it. Here's what they're doing. They're making it harder for Tony Khan to pull the trigger because he just saw what a fucking disaster she's been for them twice now. Twice, twice she's literally
Right.
walked out of the company. She has thrown fits on multiple occasions. Do you trust that person to not do the same thing to you? That is the narrative they're creating to make it harder for her. And now, listen, they've got like something like 2 months left on her contract. They don't have to let that ride out. They can put a hold on it and say, listen, this two
She didn't get
months
her
until
obligation.
you serve it, you're on the hook for these 2 months. And so that until she decides to come back, you know, there's
Right.
they can put a hold indefinitely, which means
Now that I
she
agree.
can't go somewhere else, and they can keep her from doing the Star Wars thing as well. They could be like,
What Star
no,
Wars
you
thing? I
can't.
don't know anything about
She's
that.
been in the Mandalorian she's like a character on it. She's been doing Star
Oh,
Wars for Jon Favreau, one of the biggest directors in the business, for one of the biggest franchises in the business, on one of the biggest streaming platforms on the business. Like she's
I
got a
didn't know
budding
that.
little career going if she wants to go to Hollywood. I mean, she may fail at it because she's basically played a
Right, right.
character that's had one line and wears a helmet half the time, uh, but it's a foot in the
Right.
door, and she's making contacts there at least. And the WWE can go, well, if you're not going to work for us, you're not going to work for them either. When they start
That's true.
filming season 3 and they call you to come do it, and you go, I'm not allowed to come out and play. My parents have grounded me, basically.
Well, it's
She's
funny
fucked.
because
And then they
I've
could,
seen today.
and then they should just not fire her. They should put a hold on this contract until she decides to come back, and then fire her so that there's the 90-day no compete.
Right. Well, it's funny because I I was like, you know, I saw like a clip that like Cole said something about her, like, on TV. But then I see today they like removed their merchandise, their names. Like, I mean, they're like scrubbing them from the history books.
Right. If that was a work, they'd be trying to make money off of it, wouldn't you think?
Well, that's why now I was like, wait a second, they literally scrubbed
They
them.
don't
They're
do
like,
work. They don't do work shoots like this. WWE doesn't do that stuff.
yeah, they scrubbed them from everything.
You sucked me into talking about this bullshit.
Well, I just wanted to know your thought on it because I thought it was interesting how they've been.
Well, I
scrubbed
know
from
you're
everything.
the conspiracy guy. Nothing's face value. Doesn't
No,
matter.
so
Doesn't matter what it
was,
is. If it's the ingredients
right.
on the back of a box of cereal or the fucking moon landing, your tinfoil hat's always on. So, you know.
Look, at first I thought that okay, it's a work. But then today when I saw that, I was like, whoa, they literally have scrubbed them from history.
Yeah. And they
So
both
like,
have,
maybe not.
and both of their husbands still work for the company.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Crazy. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is
Here we go.
how stupid is Joey Janela? That's all.
I don't even know what that means.
Did you see what I sent you about him lighting his boot on fire?
No, I didn't.
You didn't see it? So in a wrestling match last night, he lights his boot on fire and super kicks the guy. But no one thought to have a fire extinguisher ready to unflame his boot. So he literally sat there trying to take his boot off as his foot is engulfed in flames. And the referee is pouring a little bottle of water on it.
Good.
They couldn't, and all I can think about is this guy had a chance at AEW. He got in great shape.
Well, I think he got in great shape once he realized he wasn't going to get signed back. It's kind of like it's kind of like that girl that gains 150 pounds during her marriage, and then once the guy leaves her, she loses it all and goes, "Look what he's missing." And it's like, but if you had stayed together, he wouldn't be getting that. He'd be getting the fucking 300-pound girlfriend that doesn't give a shit. Right. You know. So the same thing with Joey Janela. It's like once he realized he wasn't getting re-signed because he's got because of a multitude of things, all of a sudden he's fucking focused and dedicated and getting a diet on point and working out. Well, where was that the 3 years you were signed to AEW? You know what I mean?
Right. But here is my thing was
he sure showed them.
My thing was like he literally had like a pretty big shot. He was on, TV, main evented some.
He had the opportunity. He definitely had an opportunity that everyone there has a shot.
That's right. Now he's in independent wrestling, lighting his boot on fire.
Right.
Like, I would be depressed. I would be like,
I don't know what GCW pays people, but everyone thinks that that's like an option now. If they don't make it on TV. Like GCW, they're fine to settle with that. And it's like, well, I mean, but then you're doing dumb fuck matches like this for a dumb fuck promoter that doesn't have enough sense to prepare for you lighting your fucking entire body on fire. Like, it's
like that was my thing is how did nobody think about this and say we should have a fire extinguisher ready? The referee, somebody hands him a bottle of water. I'm like, oh my god, this foot's gonna be toast.
Here's where my word dumb fuck comes in. They're all dumb fucks. That's why he's not. Right. That's why he's no longer with AEW. That's why he's lighting. 100%. He's lighting himself on fire, trying to get attention. Right. And that's like an attention grab. It's like, are you a pro wrestler or are you just just gimmick after gimmick after gimmick? And that's the only reason people know you.
Right.
Or are you any good? Can you fucking tell a story? Or the only reason that you get on everyone's radar is because of one dumb fuck thing after another. Diving off 30-foot thing, lighting yourself on fire, etc. That idiot you sent me the picture of that was bleeding, like that tweet. Like I haven't had a match stop for loss of blood in 20 years or whatever it is, and it's like. Right. It's like it looked like
how could they think that's cool?
It looked like Wolverine raked his claws over his back. I'm like trying to figure out how that happened to him in a match, and I'm like, and it's like, who's benefiting from this, and how many people was this in front of, and how much did you get paid for it? Because
that's what I thought.
I don't think any of those answers are going to be satisfactory. Not one of them.
No.
Even after
No.
the tweet, how many views and retweets are going to result in $1 in your fucking pocket? Let alone like more bookings where they want you to do the same. I'm going to say that this is the theme of the day. Another dumb fuck thing like what you did to go viral, which is lose a ton of blood in a fucking match that no one saw the match, but they saw the fucking they definitely saw the tweet afterwards.
Right.
And it's like, what is
That's
that?
insane.
Who's that good for? Nobody. You know who's good for? The next promoter that books you on their show. They'll get an extra 20 people that show up to their fucking mud show, but they're going to expect you to do the same thing. And like the Joey Janela match, they won't have someone there for when you do lose a fucking pint or two of blood. You're going to have to cross your fingers that you get ambulance that shows up on time. Or or that someone
could have went on fire. Like,
or that someone is deft enough with the super glue when you're bleeding to death to fucking seal you up because you're not going to have a medically trained person on staff. You're not going to have like an ambulance on call. You're going to be waiting like 15 minutes for an ambulance come to bumfuck Idaho, where you got booked for $50 to do it again.
Right. It's insane. That's absolutely insane that anybody would do that.
Right.
Insane.
Except that everyone's still doing it. Like this shit. Listen, the only thing that's I wouldn't even say it's not happening. I'll take it back. But in the 90s, before we knew about CTE and all that stuff through football and wrestling, there was all this blood and guts and headshots. And here we are 30 years later, 25 years later, 20 years later, whatever it is. What was it? The mid 90s. And we're in the early 2020s here. And so it's getting close to 30 fucking years. And we're still doing this dumb fuck. Everything is dumb fuck. You're still doing the same dumb fuck shit. You should know better. And if you don't know that ripping your back to shreds and losing 2 pints of blood in front of 150 people is a stupid fucking thing to do and isn't going to advance your career at all, isn't going to put more money in your pocket, is just going to get you viral on TikTok for 2 fucking days, maybe half a day, depending if someone dies or something else happens or a war breaks out or Elon Musk has something to say, etc., etc. How long that fucking shit is anyone's going to even know about it. And how does that make you any money or advance you in the fucking profession you choose?
Right. I wouldn't book you as a promoter. I wouldn't book you after that. I'd be like, I don't want that on my show. That trash. I wouldn't want that.
I would take it as a challenge and say, I'm going to book you and I'm going to prove that you're better than that. You're better than that. Let me show you, because I'm a promoter and a booker that knows how to fucking put a show together and knows how to make interesting stories where we don't need that bullshit. Give me 3 fucking shows and I will put you and with 3 fucking shows, we will tell a story that actually makes money without you having to fucking do dumb fuck shit. But that's me. That's me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want that on my wrestling show. I wouldn't, and talking about wrestling, tell some wrestling stories. I've seen some dumb shit. I remember one night.
You've done dumb shit. Not even seen it.
No, but so I have not.
But your excuses, it was
like that.
Your excuses, it was 15, 20 years ago. It's not like today you would be like, hit me over the head 10 times with a chair. Let me drop 2 pints of blood in front of 150 people for no fucking reason other than that I love doing this.
Here's the thing. I remember this was Tampa, Florida. I don't even know. It was probably 20 years ago. There was a cage match, Roderick Strong versus Cedric Strong. They were brothers. So Roderick Strong's in NXT, WWE now. brothers, and they were going to do this
Strongs,
cage match.
like
Right,
all these quote families, like the Andersons and
right,
yeah,
right. So they do this cage match, and Roderick
or the
busts
Vandals.
open Cedric. Right, same thing, just like the Andersons. Uh, he busts open Cedric, and I remember he hit him with something, and his head instantly exploded because the blood was squirting out like somebody was squeezing a packet of ketchup or something, and it was just squirting out of his head. Well, like a minute goes by, and now you're sitting watching, and you're starting to get concerned. Like, okay, this kid's losing like insane amounts of blood, right?
Right.
Like this.
When it's
There's 45 fucking people in the crowd.
when
Like,
it's pooling when it's pooling on the mat and not like drying or
Right.
even sinking into the canvas, which is something that's supposed to
Right.
absorb liquid, you know you're losing too much blood.
It was shooting out of the cage. Like people were moving in the crowd because it was a very close
It's
environment.
like you're
It
at a
was
Gallagher
squirting out.
show.
Yeah. So everybody like kind of
Put your
like
poncho on in the first 3 rows.
you start getting a little nervous. Well, 2 minutes go by and they're still in the match, and I'm like, yo, this kid is gonna like die. Somebody finally realized, okay, this is a bad situation. They end the match, and he had to be like paramedics rushed in, like had to take him out. I mean, he lost so much blood, and all I can remember is everybody thinking how cool it was, and I'm like, how cool is it that this kid almost died in the ring in front of 45 people? Like, I don't even understand how that's cool. It's not cool at all. Like, that's fucking stupid and dangerous.
But as a ticket buyer and as a person that's come to watch the show, it probably was cool as fuck. I mean, but was it necessary? You know,
Right.
especially in a day and age where if I'm paying and you decide to do this, I'm gonna love it watching it. But
Right.
but I'm also gonna love it if you told an actual story in the ring, and without blood.
Right.
You know, so it's like you can decide how you entertain me. I'm not saying I love blood and guts. I love it. I love
Right.
watching gory movies. I love watching horror stuff. I love
When
watching
it's done with a story.
old bloody fucking matches. If it makes sense to do it, I'm just saying, yeah, pick your spots. Like you said, in front of 40 people, and again, like that's a different day and age when you're talking about. In this day and age, you really have to pick your spots when you want to bleed.
And when you tell me I got hit in the head with chairs and went through tables, but from a bleeding standpoint, I bled 3 times ever, I think, I want to say. One time was Johnny hit me with a title belt, and the strap whipped back and smacked me in the back of my head and split me open real.
So
real.
not on purpose. Okay, number one.
Not on purpose. Split my head open. I didn't want to go to a hospital. I got my head super glue closed, and that was it. That was the end of it. The gash was gigantic. I probably should have been in a hospital.
We told that story, and you drove home.
Right.
Yeah. You were like up in like
Melbourne.
Central Florida. Yeah.
Melbourne. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the first time. The other time I was in a cage match, I cut myself to bleed, and I really didn't get any blood.
So this is
I'm
on
not
purpose.
a good bleeder.
Okay, yeah.
Right, on purpose. I'm not a good bleeder. Nothing came out, but it was my first time. I was so determined. I literally sliced my fucking head up. I looked like Abdullah the Butcher. It was like the next day we woke up. We were in Tampa, and there was still like blood coming out of it, but like it wasn't really like. But my whole fucking head was like carved up. It looked like a
your circulatory system has thick pasta sauce instead of blood in it. That's why it doesn't come out.
Doesn't come out, right? But my head was so cut up, I had to go to work. I was working at Target. I mean, I was like, 19 years old, 20 years old. I was working at Target. I had to go to work the next day, and I got to work, and they were like, "What the fuck happened to your head?" And I'm like, "Oh, it was a wrestling match." And they're like, "You cannot be on the sales floor looking like that. Like, you cannot be out there like." No way people could see your head like that. It's absolutely grotesque.
But you didn't put cover it with a bandage or something? You had
I did, and they were like, you can't wear the Band-Aid. You can't, So I took the Band-Aid off, and they were like, you can't have the Band-Aid. It can't work like that. So they stuck me in the back room for the shift, and then they were like, don't come back to work till your head heals. So I had to take a couple days off because my head was it was literally chewed up because it was so bad. And the third time was another.
Wait, so you had this giant gash. Does it take the Band-Aid off? Yeah. You took it off. It's worse. It's worse.
It wasn't a gash. It was like 15 different cuts all over my forehead.
Oh, because you kept just
Like,
jabbing yourself
I
trying
just
to get
kept
some
going because it
color.
wasn't working. Right. And I did the
Yeah.
aspirin. I drank the beers beforehand.
Then
I'm not a good believer.
you just decided to slap a dick-colored Band-Aid on your head.
Yeah, and they were like, oh my god, they were like, put it back on, but you can't, like, you gotta work in the back room, like, don't come out, like I
Right.
was some sort of like, right, like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, like, stay in the
Quasimodo,
back,
yeah.
yeah. So, and like I had to take off a couple days till it healed, and then like let me come back to work. They were like, all right, you can be back on the front lines. I was like, so the third time I did it, I didn't bleed either. Like I didn't. I got like a little driblets of blood, and that was it. And I was like, that time though, I was like, yep, one time, not doing it again. And Bruce Michaels was in the match, and I remember him saying, "You want me to do it for you?" And I
Oh
said,
my
"No, no,
god.
no, no,
Oh my
no, no,
god.
no, no,
I
nope,
I
not
can't tell you
happening."
like the couple of times I saw him like offer to like gimmick up a fucking razor blade with like the tape and everything, and offer to cut the guy for him, and like once or twice someone took him up on the offer, and it's like varying degrees of success with that. It's just like, oh my god, like I don't know, like
Right.
I love Bruce. I mean, he's totally full of shit 99% of the time, but that's part of his charm. But like, I don't know that I could trust that guy to give me color in a match. Like, I
Oh
just
no, no way. And he was like offended that I
he's
wouldn't let him do it.
he's like a what is he, like an airplane engineer,
Yeah, like literally like a science
like for
airplane engineer.
engines
Yeah.
and stuff. You'd think he would have some knowledge of like, I mean, I guess it doesn't translate to the human anatomy to know where the fucking blood vessels
Right.
are to bust you open, but Jesus Christ,
Right.
it's like it's probably
Well, so in that match, I told him no beforehand, and he was like, "All right, so I'm not bleeding, my blood's not coming out." And I remember him leaning down, going, like he was ready. He's like, "I got the blade ready." I was like, "No, no, 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 no." He's like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "No." And afterward, we had like gotten it back, and he was like, "Oh, I would have did it. It would have been great." I was like, "No, I'm good." He's like, I said, "Did you literally have the blade?" He goes, "I have one ready every match." I'm
I
like,
told
"That's
you.
insane."
Yeah. He's got like
Yeah,
a razor blade all taped up with just the little
every
corner
match. Right,
exposed,
right.
to like
And yeah, and
jab
I
in
would
your
not let
forehead
anybody else. I
or your
would never
hairline.
let
Yeah.
anybody else do that to me, ever, ever, ever. Like hell no, you're not cutting me open
Yeah.
with an unknown razor blade. Like the fuck
Like, you
out
know
of
how
here.
much trust you have to have in someone to do that?
Yeah, yeah, I don't have any
Like,
trust
I
in
don't
anyone.
know
There's
you.
no one.
You'd have to be like married in the family 10 fucking years for me to fucking trust you long enough
I
to
wouldn't trust anybody to
have
do
you
that.
fucking popping me open with a fucking razor blade.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Did you ever think maybe you should take like what thins a bullet, like an aspirin or something?
I
Like,
did. I took.
oh, you
So I
did.
took.
So you knew to
I
do
took.
that. Okay.
Well, I took 2 aspirin and I drank like 3 beers. I was like, "Ah, I'm gonna bleed like a pig." I drank the night before, nothing. This fucking
You
this
got
gravy
that
blood
fucking
here is just
yeah. You got like fucking. It's like it's not just sauce. It's
like
like
ragu.
they blended the vegetables into that sauce.
Right. Right. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't.
It
It doesn't bleed.
it bleeds, but it like just kind of trickles out over the course of 4 days
Yeah.
instead of like
Even so, now when I got hit in the head with the belt from Johnny, that was I felt warmth coming over my head, and that's when I put my hand in the back of my head, and I was like, "You motherfucker!" And I mean, that was a lot of blood, but yeah, on my forehead, there's no
But he
blood.
also caught you in a place where you don't want to bleed from.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I like, but I'm not a bleeder. I'm not. I just and I never like, to me, like independent wrestling in front of a couple hundred people, like it just never appealed to me why I would bleed in that atmosphere. Like
No,
there's no payoff to it.
like if you weren't doing it at like the big Davy Rodeo show or something,
Right, right.
what do you do? Well, yeah, like for
There's no payoff to it at all.
I'll tell you, we did when you were in like California or South
Right.
Carolina or somewhere. When I did my final set of shows for SuperCon
Right.
with Marco, we had at some point. Remember you were still here when that ladder match got out of control when Seth fucking
Yeah, I was there.
ran
Yeah,
his
we talked
mouth
about
and
that
got everyone
recently.
all fucking
Yeah.
hyped up to kill each other.
Right.
After that, we rewrote the shows to be more like just fun, not bloody, not crazy, et cetera, et cetera. So we did 4 days. Excuse me. I've got like long COVID shit going on.
Oh, here we go.
Dude, man, I've been fucking coughing all day. Uh, so we did like four days of shows that were clean, and like didn't get like very few like even like chair shots or outside the ring stuff. Just like mostly in the
Right.
ring. The only thing we did was the Hitler thing with Captain America, but even that was like very like in the ring, traditional wrestling, storytelling stuff.
Right.
Fourth day, we had built like Johnny and Drexel, who were doing these characters. Nobody, 10% of the audience will know. They were doing Green Arrow and Deathstroke, which are like comic book things. They'd been feuding for over the course of conventions and over the course of the days in this one. And I said, I think it was the main event Sunday. It was like the last match of the shows. I said, I feel like we've built to a point where we got to fucking just go all out. Like, this is the match that's going to shock people because we've had 4 days of like wholesome wrestling.
Right.
You guys brawl every corner of this building, bust yourselves wide open, whatever you want to fucking do. Like Drexel had to get stitches at the end, or got super glued or butterfly stitched or whatever at the end of this thing. Like, it brawled everywhere. People were clearing out of sections, et cetera, et cetera. For the storytelling and for the impact and for like to like kind of like do this 4-day like emotional thing to explode at the end like this was like fantastic. But like it's like that was it. That was the one time we did blood over the course of like the last 3 conventions. So you're talking like
right,
like 12 to 14
but
shows.
You built it.
Yeah,
right.
Really
right.
built
Yeah,
it.
you just can't go into it. Yeah, no, not 100 people in a fucking 45 people in a building. Like
No.
these guys doing death matches with like 30 people there. I'm like, why would you do that to yourself? There's nothing you get out of that. Zero, nothing. Like I don't get what you can get.
Well, for people to think small, they think they get like some Instagram posts, some Twitter fucking virality, et cetera, Maybe it gets them booked to do another, but the only thing that gets you booked to do is more of that horse shit.
Right. Yep. And I wouldn't want to do that. Right. No, that's insane. But yeah, no, I'm good. I'm even better sitting at home watching these idiots do it because it makes me want to not wrestle more and more. Like I don't want to wrestle now. I really don't want to wrestle watching them. Like I'm like I don't want to be around. Even like I was watching some stuff from Powers and TK, and it's cool. The crowd is cool, but I watch the wrestling aspect of it, and I'm like, I am so far removed from like even doing the donut gimmick. Like it'd probably be the most over thing on the show, but I just don't want to be around these guys. Like in the way they handle themselves and the way they call the matches and the way how sensitive everybody's. I don't want to be around them. I'm better off at home. I'm past my time.
But I'll say this.
I'm the old guy now.
I'll say this. If you did your gimmick, your Breakfast Club gimmick,
right.
where you're coming out with boxes of donuts, handing them out to fans, where your matches are pure comedy and like they're all about like just like silly spots and things like we did in Supercom with the fucking pizza box tables and things, but you're doing it with fucking boxes of donuts and Krispy Kremes and whatever. You have a powdered donut, you blow it in his face. It's like Mr. Fuji blowing salt in the guy's eye. All that shit. If you did that for like 4 or 5 shows, where like you're building and like someone's getting frustrated, where you're not taking them seriously and they're a real wrestler, et cetera, but you keep getting over them. And not only are you more popular than them and you're fucking winning matches over them and you're doing all these gimmicks where it fucking finally, after match after match after match, it came down to a hardcore match where you fucking flipped the switch and it was a blood match and it was a hardcore match. It would, because of that, it would be talked about for years in that little fandom. You know what I mean? Like, but there has to be a reason for it. You have to build towards it. That's 8 months or a year and a half of storytelling before you get to it. Not like, oh, look at my back. I wrestled this guy for the first time and they stopped the match because I'm bleeding like a stuck pig.
Right.
Like, what does that accomplish?
Absolutely stupid.
Right.
Nothing.
No money was made on that. No money was made.
Zero. Right. You could have made money and you decided not to.
Right.
Right. Right. I hate that shit. Hate that shit. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I just in the wrestling world, the shit that and again, you're right. With the stuff I saw back in 20 years ago, uh, I guess we were pretty stupid too. Not me specifically, but there were some pretty dumb people.
Well,
Uh,
what locker rooms were you in where someone? How many times were you physically there when someone just fucking like almost bled to death or broke their
it was
neck
usually
or
well,
whatever?
Billy almost killed Bobby that time in Fort Lauderdale. That
So
was one.
talk
And
about
then
that. Talk about that one because like I wasn't there for that.
so Bobby Rogers had a match with Billy Fives, and it was a blow off
For
kind of
Bobby's
thing.
promotion, right? FOW.
Right, right. And there was it was leading. They led to this, and so there was some storytelling. And Bobby wanted him to beat him so bad that he like basically bled out, and match had to be stopped. Billy beat him so bad. I mean, there was blood. I've never seen so much blood in my life. It was literally every inch of the ring was covered in blood.
But sometimes Billy or Bobby shares that picture on Facebook where Bobby's
Right.
just laying in a pool of his own
Laid
blood,
out.
and it's like
Right.
out on the concrete. It's not even in the ring, right?
There's just blood everywhere.
Right.
That was probably the most bloodiest thing I've seen. But in IPW in Tampa, it was a weekly occurrence. They were doing hardcore matches in front of 50 people bleeding everywhere. I'm like, God, barbed wire. And I'm like, why would you do that? There's no one here. And at that time, there was no internet to it. You weren't you were putting it on TikTok, in
They're
2001.
they're hoping
Yeah.
what that Bill Apter's there taking a picture or something.
I don't know. I don't even know. No clue. And nobody ever got anything out of it. So it's not like anything ever, it's stupid. It was stupid wrestling. It was stupid at the time. But, I don't know. I never was a fan of hardcore like that. It just never did it for me ever. So
In fairness, ECW was doing it at the time. They were hot.
right.
The other companies were copying them as best as possible without losing their their contracts with their TV, partners. But so it was at least you can argue that in that day it was more in vogue, and
Right.
more trendy, and they thought that's what people wanted to come to see, and they thought that if they did it, maybe they would be seen and like elevated or whatever.
Right.
But if you're not on
Yeah.
TV, no, it's tree
Does it
falling in
matter?
the woods.
What would it
Tree
matter?
falling in the
Right.
woods.
Right.
Especially
Tree
with no
falling in the
internet.
woods.
With no internet,
It didn't matter. Right. It didn't matter. Yeah.
it wasn't
not
no
in
internet. It was
2001.
no social media. It was, which is the
Right,
same
right.
thing. Yeah,
Right. No, it didn't matter in 2001 when you were cutting yourself open like that.
right.
But yeah, no, fuck that. No, but yeah, I don't know. I've got nothing else. I feel like we beat this to death.
I told you the most memorable blood spot I think I ever saw was ECW. I was watching what time did they show that on the Sunshine Network? It was like Saturday night
It was
at
like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. Yeah.
yeah, it was like in the middle of the night.
Right.
I'm watching it on the couch. I'm like 22 years old, 24 years old, something like that. And it was Beulah McGillicuddy versus our boy Bill Alfonso, right down the middle guy.
Right.
They, for some reason, I don't remember why, but they had a match. She hit him over his head with like a baking pan, like a sheet, like that you would bake cookies on.
Cook with?
She
Okay.
swatted it over his head and busted him so wide open that it was like a stream of blood coming down his face. To the point where a couple of times he's like wiping the blood out of his face and kind of motioning to whoever, like I'm bleeding too much. Like I can't see.
Right.
What are we doing here? And she's wrestling him and he's bumping and whatever. And she finally pins him. I can't tell you, I've never seen ever at a live show, on a pay-per-view, anywhere. I haven't seen as much blood lost as Bill Alfonso lost on that fucking episode of ECW against Beulah McGillicuddy, which was Tommy Dreamer's wife.
Right.
Or became Tommy Dreamer's wife. Which is, it's weird. You're like thinking about it, and it's like, of all the people,
referee and a
of all the
manager.
right, it's a guy that's a referee. Well, he was a referee / manager, depending.
Right. And she was
a manager, but yeah, then the two of them, she just fucked him up, And they just, that's again, the powers of be just let the match keep going when they should have called it.
Right.
Because I'm sure he was close to being dangerously low, if you know what I mean.
I never saw that. I'm going to go look it up today now.
You should. I mean, it's fucking crazy. He keeps
I'm gonna look it up.
like kind of motioning to the hard cam, like he's wiping the blood out of his eyes and kind of like, what are we doing here? Can we call this already? And she just keeps throwing clotheslines and fucking him up.
I'm going to watch it today.
And she looks like Carrie, like from the fucking Stephen King movie, because she's covered in his blood.
Blood. Wow. Yeah, I got to look that up. I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I got today. I got nothing else.
You're the worst.
I'm winded.
Man. You're the worst.
I'm winded.
You're the worst.
I think we got to keep these a little shorter anyway, because I think too
shorter.
long.
You barely fucking showing up for the ones we actually
30-minute episodes.
No, you're
hours too long.
You're trying to
trick. I don't want to watch an hour.
That's because it's you. Like there's some people that work all day. There's some people.
That's
first
why
of all,
TikTok is popular.
Hold on.
It's not an hour long.
No. Okay. First of all, no one's watching. We do audio. Second of all, there are people that work for 8 hours a day. It's like they would like longer than shorter because if it's not us, it's someone else that they need like filling their ear with noise so they can get through the fucking day. Okay? Don't try and spin with your bullshit. At least you turned off your Wi-Fi calling today.
I did.
It's like,
but I really got nothing else.
Of course, you never have anything else.
I'm prairie dogging.
Listen.
I'm pacing right now.
You always fuck up these shows, whether it's not showing up for them, not getting guests for them, fucking wanting to call it early because you're fat and you're hungry, or you ate too much and now you're shitting yourself. It's always fucking something.
At Applebee's.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta poop. I can't help it.
It's the worst. This is the worst. I'm so tired of you know how many times I've been ready to quit on you in the last 3 weeks? No.
Hey, I'm 2 for 2 showing up this last 2. So
yeah, well that's
the streak alive, baby.
Yeah, we've restarted the streak 6 times in the last 2 months.
Back on. All right, I gotta go. I literally have to go. I have to poop.
Yeah, well. You knew we were doing this at 3:30. I don't know why you couldn't have taken a pregame dumpski.
Hey, let's hold off.
You know what I do at 2:45, 3 o'clock? I go sit down and squeeze out what I can. It buys me the time I need. I mean, I just think you're.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, it is how.
I'm pacing right now. I'm pacing. My left leg is shaking.
I'm going to tell you. I talked to my college friend that directed Leprechaun for I haven't spoken to him in months. I'm sitting there talking with him for 2 hours, and I'm thinking, God, this would make so much of a better podcast than what I do.
Right, well, get him on.
Well, no. You don't tell me to get guests. You've been promising to get guests for fucking
here we go.
For 3 months, and you can't ever fucking do it. So, listen, I all I'm doing is stringing you along trying to make you shit your pants.
Yeah, I got to go. I'm sweating. Goodbye.